Welcome everyone to the Inner Shift podcast, a space where we explore healing, self-discovery, emotional freedom, and deeper wisdom for living more peaceful life. I'm your host, Sanju Narayan, and today I truly honored to be joined by a very special guest. Our guest today is Amelia Leon. She is the founder of Spirituality Fit Yoga, Insight Timer teacher, yoga and meditation teacher, retreat leader, podcast host, and a mother. Her former corporate professional tends stay at home mom. She brings a grounded, real life approach to healing and personal growth. After navigating burnout and chronic fatigue syndrome, Amelia now helps others move through anxiety, depression, and life transitions using yoga, meditation, and energy work. Her work weaves together nervous system regulation and yoga philosophy, including moksha, freedom from suffering. While honoring her perspective as an Asian American teacher, she's the host of Spirituality Fit Yoga podcast, and our guided meditations are available on Insight Timer, where she supports a global community in cultivating presence, emotional balance, and inner peace. Thank you for coming, Amelia Adaleon, to intake about emotions, especially something about anxiety. And I know a lot of people are going through it.
So emotions, you mentioned a couple of things. You said emotions, anxiety, you said, right. So thank you so much for having me on your podcast. And yeah, that's an interesting question. You asked about emotions, you asked about times like this, and anxiety. And this is actually a topic that I talk about a lot with my students or in my classes. It's coming up a lot because people are reacting to the news. It might be unsettling what they're either reading or maybe they're scrolling on their phones and this. Maybe the conversations are, in their lives, they're hearing it. So how do we, you and I, how do we practice what's called equanimity, which is something that with yoga, we teach a lot about that equanimity, which is to cultivate your inner peace despite any external noise or any external chatter. So when I hear your question, that's what I kind of think that's what I'm hearing from you. Does that sound right with you?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So the emotions, there are the emotions and then there are the thoughts. So one thing that can really help is taking a pause, taking a breath. So let's say you heard something that was upsetting in the news, or you read something and you scrolled. So one thing is just like notice the physical sensations in the body. Once you get into the practice of knowing, oh, I know when I start getting tight in my solar plexus or I start getting tight in my chest, or you just have a sense that you're feeling stress in the body. Let's say it's your phone, just put it down for a second and just take a breath. And then release that breath. And just have a little self-conversation, checking in with yourself and finding out what is going on right now. Like, what is it that I just heard? Like, what is the reality of what I heard? And am I having reaction? Am I having an emotional reaction to those words or this news? And can you take just that little bit of an assessment just to notice what is real or maybe what is dramatic? Because sometimes we can personally sensationalize it for ourselves, and just taking that step back to breathe and checking in with yourself. So I'll share about me. I don't know if you've heard of this term, like HSP, highly sensitive person or highly sensitive people. There are certain people like that, and I am one of those. And I personally know for myself that if I'm scrolling on my phone or if I see the news, like I don't tend to watch the news. I'll be aware of what's going on in the world, but I don't tend to watch it. I might just read quickly, or maybe I hear about it on a podcast. But I just know that that's my way. I talk a lot about protecting my peace, my inner peace, cultivating the equanimity, and identifying the emotion. So let's say there's something that is triggering me. So I hear something and I can feel something is tight. So I take a pause and I ask myself, what is the feeling? What is the emotion that's arising? Is it fear? Is it, so we can say anxiety, but going a little bit more specific. Am I afraid? Am I something? Are you concerned about something? And just getting into what is it? And is it really about that situation that's going on? And it might be. And then with self reflection, you may find out that it's actually triggering something else. It might be triggering something else that you've experienced that feels similar. So that's why you're having a reaction, the emotional reaction. And just taking the time, and maybe you say to yourself, I am feeling afraid, and just stay with that and acknowledging that. And as you breathe with that and notice it, then sometimes you can breathe with compassion, and just the body and the mind. There's a lot of power when we can just say, I see you, I noticed you, I hear you, instead of, one reaction can be, I feel really uncomfortable and I want to get out of this uncomfortable situation, like right now.
Mhm.
That's my first. I just want to press the eject button. And then sometimes that can invalidate the emotions. It can invalidate the feelings. So instead, just staying with the feeling, staying with the self awareness of the present moment. And we talk a lot about that in meditation and in our yoga, like being in the present moment, noticing where in the body, maybe the emotions might be coming up.
Mhm.
And like I tend to hold my emotions. If I'm feeling stressed, I can feel it. Like sometimes it's in my throat, sometimes like at my solar plexus, sometimes maybe in my jaw. And this is all a consistency and a practice when you start getting to know yourself. It's like, oh, okay, I can feel something is like, I can feel this is my stress response. It's like, what is stressing me out right now? Just taking a step back, take a step back instead of jumping right into reacting without even knowing why you're reacting. So that's more like the knee jerk reaction, and more the mindless reaction also, instead of taking a pause and just like being where you are. And we can even just do that right now. Okay. So go ahead and make yourself comfortable wherever you are. And if it feels comfortable for you, you can put your hands on your belly and your heart. If it feels comfortable, you can close your eyes and take a few breaths. Feel the breath underneath the palms of your hands. And check in, what are the emotions that I'm feeling right now? And to yourself, maybe name one, like maybe one emotion, maybe that's showing up the most right now. And as you are noticing that emotion, repeating it to yourself silently, I am feeling, it could be, I am feeling afraid. It could be, I am feeling nervous. Now, what is it for you? And just stay here with the emotion without trying to fix. We're not trying to change it. We're not trying to make it go away. And maybe if it's helpful, just telling yourself, telling that body part, saying, I feel you, I notice you, I see you, I am here with you. You're allowed to feel exactly the way that you feel. I see you, I feel you, I notice you, I am here with you. And take 3 more breaths, just noticing how you feel. Take a big breath in And a big sigh, let it go. And then when you are ready, you can softly, slowly open your eyes.
Oh, I just felt something just went down. Like my body feels so light.
Yeah.
And because for me, anxiety I had a very bad anxiety. My mom passed away. So the grief, after grief was anxiety, panic attack, and the nervous system. So I felt my nervous system was not working. My legs, I couldn't even stand up.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you work with people who has nervous system, like someone's going through it.
Mm-hmm.
What would you, how would you heal the person or what they should do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one thing I will say, I don't heal people.
Mm,
So I do have healing energy. I do have healing practices.
mm.
Never call myself a healer. So I'll write
Okay.
getting into the present moment, getting out of, especially if the mind is getting triggered and you're going to something in the past because it's triggering an emotion that's not actually happening right here in the moment. So that's one thing is you can connect to the present moment. That's one tool. And you mentioned about nervous system. So yes, so through the practices of yoga, meditation. I offer something called Reiki, which is healing. It is a healing energy, inner healing. And through me as a Reiki healer, it's like I invite the Reiki energy. I'm a conduit of the healing. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I allow the healing energy to go to me through to the person that's receiving it, you or whoever. And what it really does is awaken your own inner healer. And we actually all have our own inner healer. And I also do something called sound baths, so we have the healing frequency of that, which can also, all of this is dysregulation or regulating of the nervous system when our nervous systems are feeling dysregulated. And when we are in the fight or flight, when the nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system is dominant or it's heightened. And instead, we want to awaken the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest system. And the way that we can awaken that is doing a daily meditation. Maybe it's yoga, maybe it's walking outside in nature. So anything so that we begin to shift. So, you talk about in your podcast, inner shift. So we begin to shift that your default nervous system is more in the parasympathetic mode instead of the sympathetic mode. So more in the rest and digest mode instead of the fight or flight mode. Does that make sense?
Yes, it
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Yoga. Someone who's not very familiar with yoga, even they are doing yoga, usually people do is confuse yoga with exercise. What yoga means to you and for someone who is having anxiety or can help them with anxiety or any
Mhm.
kind of emotions.
That's a great question. Let me just talk about the overall yoga. So
Mhm.
my business, my brand is Spiritually Fit Yoga. And I intentionally named it that because when I started my yoga and then my yoga teacher training, I observed that, especially in the Western world, that it seemed like a lot of people assumed that yoga was a workout, that yoga was about stretching, that yoga's strengthening. It's all of that, more of the physical practice, which in yoga we call it the asana practice, the postures. But when you really study yoga, you discover actually it's more about the mind and the emotions, and spirituality. So that's why I like to call it spiritually fit yoga. And why it works hand in hand. So if somebody has anxiety, I've had students before, and even myself, where they might be introduced first to meditation, and it feels unbearable. The thought of sitting still, just like, you don't want to sit with your thoughts. You absolutely feel like you cannot do that because it might be disturbing. It might be unsettling, and the nervous system just does not know what to do, especially if they're used to being in a dominant sympathetic nervous system. And maybe that their way of coping is to go running or doing exercise, and that's yoga paired with that. You can bring both together. So if you have a teacher that can remind you that to do the breath work is important. In yoga, sometimes we do what's called ujjayi breath, which is inhaling through the nostrils and exhaling through the nostrils. There's a dirga breath, which is the three-part breath, starting from your belly, inhaling, then the second breath and the third breath to the collarbones, and slowly from the top and all the way down to the belly. So there's different, this is called pranayams, different ways to breathe in yoga. And I would say for somebody who is uncomfortable being still, let's say in meditation, I would suggest that they go to a yoga class and maybe to a teacher who is more of a holistic yoga teacher, because you will learn that through the physical practice connected with the breath work, that it might be more tolerable because at least you're still moving, and you might be feeling like you're getting a workout. But when the teacher is inviting you to hold the pose for 5 breaths, or they're inviting you to go into a posture that is challenging, might be physically challenging, it gives your mind something to do. So I don't know if you've heard this before. So it's like, we have the monkey mind, right?
Yes.
The chatter
Yes.
mind. It's like busy, busy, busy. And one of the ways we can calm that monkey mind is giving the monkey a job.
Okay.
In a yoga class, you can have so many instructions, doing that am breathe, and press your feet down into the ground. And, so you're connecting the breath. And then before you know it, you're at the end of the class and maybe you got a sweat, but then you might realize, wow, I stopped worrying. I stopped thinking because the teacher is telling me, stand in this balance pose, but look at one spot in front of you, which is called drishti. It's like where you set your drishti, your focus, your gaze. So there's enough to do that instead of just sitting still and meditating. And it can be a meditation in movement. And in yoga, the asana practice, they added that because they realized that it was physically that it was challenging to sit for a really long time. And they realized if you move the body a little bit, if you kind of lubricate the joints, creating space, that it would make it more comfortable, to sit for a long time. So it can be a really great practice to do maybe it's vinyasa or hatha, do your movement practice first. And then but it's
Yes.
not, that's such an important pose. And if anybody is listening, and if you are the type that goes to yoga and you want your workout, and then we get to the shavasana, and sometimes people want to leave because they feel like, well, we're not doing anything. We're just laying there. We consider that the most important posture in our practice. The shavasana, it actually means corpse pose, which might seem kind of morbid, but actually what we're doing in yoga is practicing to be as peaceful as possible while we're still alive, we're still breathing, so that we can bring this peace until our last breath. It actually is a really beautiful practice. If you can get out of people thinking, it's like, oh, corpse pose. Why do I want to practice in corpse pose like I'm dead? It's like, but that's not really the point. It's really to be as still as possible, to allow yourself to receive this calming of the nervous system, and then this reminder that yoga, this holistic practice, is more than the physical practice. We really want to calm the mind and calm the nervous system. Did that answer your question?
Yes. So start with yoga because that connects and brings awareness to your body with meditation.
It's a way.
Yeah.
People that have
Yeah.
a hard time. So sometimes, we can call yoga a gateway to
Yes.
meditation.
I
Yeah.
did that when I was having anxiety because I was doing yoga before, and then I did yoga with the breath work. That helped me a lot with my anxiety.
Yeah.
Silent meditation, how important it is to have this space for oneself.
Yeah. It's important. I don't want to say that it's so important that if you can't do it, then you're doing it wrong. I don't want to give that message. And I tell people, especially if they're brand new meditators, that the silent part of the meditation can be the most difficult because
Okay.
you're sitting with your thoughts. And in the beginning, you might be very uncomfortable because all of a sudden you're paying attention to these thoughts, and it's like an assault of thoughts that are either overwhelming or they're thoughts that might feel negative, or you haven't learned yet how to. So here I'll give you an analogy. So I do this with kids. So you know the snowballs or the snow globes.
Yes.
No, there's water and glitter or something in it. So you can shake it up and then you can look at it and then all of a sudden it looks like it's snowing and it's like a lot of stuff coming down. So a meditation that I'll invite the kids to do is like imagine that you have this snow globe and then you see of all the different colors, there's one that's just gold. And then
Mm.
your invitation is to look at the snow globe and see if you can find that one piece of glitter that's gold. And then they're looking and looking, and then so the first time it's like, oh, I can't find it. The second time, oh, I think I saw it. The third time, and then after a while, it's just like, oh, I can find that one piece of gold, and the mind actually starts to calm down. The mind starts to, you're conditioning the mind to see that, and that's like the silent meditation. In the beginning, you can feel like that snowball effect or a blizzard effect of too much. So it's a practice to bring it down to what is your anchor? Is your anchor your breath? Is your anchor the present moment? Is your anchor a visual, like, this piece of glitter or looking at a candle? And it can be very common for somebody who's brand new at meditation to see the blizzard first, so especially when you're silent. So to have a guided meditation like Yoga Nidra, you know what Yoga Nidra
Okay.
is? Yeah, Yoga Nidra. So Yoga Nidra is yogic sleep,
Okay.
and even though we're not supposed to really be sleeping, but it's like getting that mind in that state of mind. Yoga Nidra is a state of mind that is like nice and calm. But the meditator, the teacher, is giving that monkey something to do. It's like notice your forehead, notice your right eye, notice your left eye. So you're like constantly. If you listen to my yoga nidras, I talk about it's like a ping pong match. But it's giving the mind, you're keeping the student, the listener, keeping their mind like focusing, like from the body scan or different things, and that can guide them into a relaxed state of body and mind. If just sitting in silence feels, because we don't know what to do yet, it's overwhelming, especially if somebody is naturally in a stressful state for whatever reason, whatever, maybe something happened to their life and they've learned along the way to always be like on a lookout, like because they're afraid and they're heightened their
Yes.
nervous system. So it can take time. It can take time.
Take time. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and you asked, is it important for silence? I will say yes and no, but I don't like to say it definite because, if that can be maybe something, I don't know. I don't even like to talk about goals sometimes because I also don't like to have expectations because when we set the expectations, then we can feel like we're disappointed in ourselves or something. But yeah, but maybe sometime, and then it gets to the point, maybe, and maybe you feel this way already. Like how do you feel about silent meditation? For me now, I prefer more silent meditation than guided. But when I was in the beginning, I preferred the more guided meditations than the silence. It was just a progression.
I think this is very helpful for someone who has not done meditation or just new to meditation. You also have self-awareness, and I think the Sanskrit word, if there's a Sanskrit word starts with S.
That's Svadhyaya.
Yeah, I'll try to pronounce it. And it's like I know I don't remember I like remember hearing about that word or saw that word, but it means like self-awareness,
Yeah, self-inquiry.
inquiry. So what
Self-inquiry,
is that?
self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like I mentioned at the very, very beginning. Let's say that something is triggering you or something is upsetting you, to take a pause and just check in. This is like, what am I really reacting to? And then taking a pause and let me see, let me give you an example. So let's say that let's say that you heard something in the news and it's making you feel afraid. And then when you pause and you realize, okay, the news said, the actual words said, this, but the fear is coming from something that happened, you know, in another situation. It actually has nothing to do with this particular situation, for example, or maybe it's that situation. And then what really is true though in this present moment, and let's say there's some news and all of a sudden you don't feel safe, right? You feel afraid. And you heard the news of something that's happening in another country, but you don't feel safe, right? So then that's where it's like present moment, like touching something. There's some grounding techniques, there's different ways. And just asking yourself, it's like right now, am I safe? It's like, where am I? I am in a house. I have clothes on. I am fed. I am warm. Whatever that situation is, just coming back to the present moment, it's just like, oh, I am safe. You might not have felt safe because you heard the news, because it's disturbing, because it's unsettling, and you might not agree with it. And that's happening a lot right now in the world. A lot of us, we don't like the wars. We don't like seeing what's happening over there. And it's very easy to think, oh my gosh, it happened to me right now. We who knows? We don't know. But right now in this present moment, it doesn't help me to get worked up about it when, like, right here in this present moment, it's just like, where am I? It's like literally, like, touch something, get something tangible to connect to the present moment.
It's helps you, like you said, grounded, make you more in the presence moment and not to think about, kind of like you're not blocking it, but you bringing all your focus to yourself and what's you have in the present moment.
Yeah. Yeah. This last year, this has come up so much in my classes and my retreats, my meditation retreats, my yoga retreats, and it's a very common question I find nowadays.
Mm.
It's like, how can I feel peaceful when I know that this is happening, even though it's not happening right here in your world, or that decision is being made and it's going to affect my job, or it's going to affect my family, or all these. How do we stay peaceful? And so I invite people to consider two things. One, get into the present moment. Just make sure, are you safe where you are? It's like, okay, I know the news is this, but you're a certain situation, which the majority of us here that we're talking right now here in the United States, a lot of us, ours are safe. Like, and maybe somebody actually is hearing this and they're really not safe. But so I'm talking to most of us here that, like, are really, we are really, like, you're in your room and I'm in my room, and that I'm safe right here. So, so touch into that, know that you're safe. And then take some time and ask yourself if there's something that you are, let's say there's something that you are not agreeing with the government, for example, or some decision that's being made. And maybe you ask yourself, okay, I'm not feeling safe. And is there is there an action that I can take that will align with my values? So for me, for example, my values are, as much as possible, to practice ahimsa, which is to do no harm, which is to do no harm towards myself, to do no harm towards others. So for me, because it feels like I might want to make a difference or have a voice or express myself, because I don't want to just stand back idly, so not let it hijack my nervous system. But one thing I can do is maybe I'll do a peaceful protest, or maybe I'll raise awareness somehow, but do it in a way that is peaceful, because that's what aligns with me. So that also can calm people's nervous systems if they're feeling helpless. So if you're feeling helpless, acknowledge that I'm feeling helpless, and maybe do some research, maybe reach out to an organization or a group, or a therapist, or somebody, or a meditation teacher or a yoga teacher, somebody who you think can guide you. It's just like, gosh, I do not know what to do with these feelings. I'm losing sleep over this. And what do you think I can do? And it's just like, so then there's some talking and there's some of the self inquiry. And like, I don't give people answers. I ask questions. I ask them to ask themselves their own questions for them to discover for themselves, like the answers of what can I do to self-soothe myself. And I have found for myself, and I have witnessed it for others, that if somebody does take some action towards that thing that they're upset about, that it can calm their nervous system a little bit, because at least they feel like they did something.
If someone's really feeling it right now, all these emotions coming up, journaling, they can journal. What should they journal about? Like, what should they, I mean, there is like, say people say I do journal every day, but what should they put in the journal? What should they write about so that they can help them heal themselves and bring that awareness? It helps to release what they're going through.
Yeah. So a word that I also try not to use is should. So I don't want to say they should journal, but journaling can be an effective tool for some people. And it's also, again, another way to do that svadhyaya, that self-inquiry, that self-reflection. You can do, so let's say you're upset, and you might have a journal. Even my daughter, I let her know. I mean, she's older now, but it's like, just leave a journal by your bed. And before you go to bed, if there's anything that's on your mind that you feel like is swirling around in your mind, just open up your journal and just write everything. Just do a free write. Like, I'm feeling this way today, da da da. Today, this is on my mind. This, and maybe just keep writing and writing and writing until you feel like you got it out. Yeah. So that's not even any journal prompt. That's just letting yourself. There's something very powerful about getting it out of your head and into your pen and on paper, and then physically writing and getting that out, and then close it. And you maybe remind yourself, okay, so I felt that, but now I need to go to sleep. I don't need to keep worrying about this in my sleep, because one of the best things I can do for myself now is to give myself a good night's sleep, because worrying overnight is not going to change the situation. And also releasing control over things. These are all, for most of us, unless you're working like right in it, these are external factors to us. I mean, it's not actually, that's not where we're living or not where we're working, but it could be affecting us, affecting our mindset. And we can choose to let it like really take over your thoughts or your emotions, or you take a step, breathe, get into that present moment and realize, what I can do. And you choose whatever is the action. And one of the things that we can do, and I'll say for meditators or yoga teachers, is when I or we can cultivate our inner peace, that it's contagious, that can help the other people around us, just by us practicing it, just having it in your energy field. So not even if I use any words and I tell you, you should do this or you should do that, or you should. So instead of that, just like sometimes just somebody being with you can be calming. So if we can just take care of that for ourselves, that can make a huge difference.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Self-discipline. For me, it's very important. Otherwise, we fall off the wagon if we don't have discipline. For anyone, day to day, and something simple they can bring into their life for their mind, body, and soul.
Yeah. So in yoga, self-discipline is called tapas. So the tapas.
Yes.
So tapas is the inner fire. It's the discipline. And I will say for meditation, it helps because especially if somebody has, I mentioned, like if you have a dominant sympathetic nervous system, if you tend to live in that type of energy, like always like wired or always like that, that the meditation, doing it day to day, can help shift that out of the sympathetic into the parasympathetic, so that when you are really in a stressful situation, it's more accessible to get that parasympathetic nervous system response instead of the default sympathetic nervous system. And you're conditioning the muscle of mindfulness, just like we go to the gym and we get our biceps and we're flexing our muscles. So but the meditation actually, it conditions so that I am now like more calm. I'm more like, my natural way of being, my default way of reacting is initially to be calm, whereas maybe before it was to be stressed right away. So which was my case. That was my situation. So when I was younger, I was treated a certain way, I was raised a certain way, that I had I was dominant. I was sympathetic dominant. My nervous system was sympathetic dominant. And I had to unlearn that. I had to unlearn it and it wasn't really until my yoga teacher training that I really, really learned this and had this awareness of the svadhyaya, and realized a lot of my reactions or my stress response, it wasn't mindful, it was mindless, because it was trained. I was conditioned. My mind was conditioned a certain way, and my body was conditioned that way also, to just like almost always be on guard. So but then with the daily practice, and it didn't happen overnight, it took years, and then now, so when something happens, I'm not the type of person who will flinch. I'm like, my default reaction is to be calm. So but that's not how it was before. Took a lot of practice. Yeah. So and then you said daily, so I'm saying meditation. Like Insight Timer, you and I, we're on Insight Timer, right? As publisher.
Yes. Yes.
I tell students a lot to try Insight Timer, try an app, whether it's Insight Timer or another app. And if you're brand new, maybe set your timer for 1 minute. And let's just do 1 minute every single day. And it's amazing. 1 minute you put a timer on, or if you can find a guided meditation that's 1 minute. In the beginning, 1 minute might feel long,
It
and then
does.
just keep tracking. And something like Insight Timer, I mean, it's like, this is so funny, and I think a lot of people are like this. It's like, it tells you, like, from day to day, you get these stars, it shows you your progress. And then I realized I didn't want to miss a day because I didn't want to miss any stars.
So discipline comes play in here.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So you start, and then next, it's like, oh, 1 minute. Well, maybe I can try 2 minutes. Maybe I can try 3 minutes. And next, you're up to an hour. It's just like, but just start with 1 minute. Yeah, don't
I
make it
think
start it so it feels like you're having a victory. Little victories, tiny victories, instead of feeling bad about yourself. Don't start meditation or yoga so you feel bad. Don't set yourself up to feel bad about yourself by, reaching for these like really lofty goals. Just start tiny, something manageable that that you can commit to, and something that you can do. Like maybe 1 minute for 7 days, and then 1 minute for another 7 days. And maybe next, you're 30 days, you did 1 minute. It's like, oh, wow, I did 30 minutes. How do I feel after 1 minute of meditation? And what can happen is that the habit, it develops. And then if you don't do it, you're like, oh, wait, I have to meditate, or I want to meditate because it feels good when I meditate. Let me do that 1 minute. Did I miss that 1 minute? Let me do it. It's like, how do I feel when I meditate versus when I don't meditate? So
I think I think when you start doing it every day, it kind of becomes a habit. And if you don't do one day, you will start feeling something's missing.
yeah,
How's nature helps with our emotions?
yeah. Nature and our emotions. Yeah, nature and our nervous system. Uh, well, that's a big part of what I teach. I have a lot of nature inspired retreats, nature inspired meditations. A lot of my meditations will refer to the ocean, or some visualization like that. And in nature, we have the connection to the earth. So I don't know if you've heard of earthing.
Yes.
Like if you want to get grounded, just get your feet literally on the ground. Especially nowadays when people are they're on their phones, they're looking on their phones, and they have the electromagnetic field. Not just that, but they're not getting outside. But just getting outside, and especially if you can go outside and get unplugged, like go on airplane mode and just feel and look up at the trees and look up at the sky. And it has this physiological response, like this grounding response, because you're literally connecting to the earth and inviting in the, all the elements of the earth. We've got we've got the earth, you have the water, you have the air, you have the space, all of that you can feel all around you. And taking that time, and sometimes people don't live close to nature. Let's say you live in a big city, so maybe you get a potted plant, or maybe you have just
Okay.
a plant and you plant something, you start to take care of it, and you water it, and then you connect to in prana. In yoga, we talk about prana, which is life force. And prana is in us, it's in the plants. And if you think about a plant, it's like, how does a plant know from a seed to be planted in the soil? How does it know to like grow and like emerge from the seed, emerge through the soil? How does it know to like the leaves grow and next thing you know, maybe it's a flower, or maybe it's a fruit, or maybe it's a tree, just because it's the nature. It's just this vitality. This is the prana, the life force, and it's in all of us. So if we give ourselves that nourishment, that we also can get grounded. We can like be like that seed. We can be like those roots, connecting down in the earth. And when we're outside, we can receive that, the sun. We can see whether, even if it's not sunny outside, even if it's cloudy, we're still receiving those benefits of just being in this planet. And yeah, if you can, whether it's nature, like I said, you can get outside, or you take care of a plant and you just, I don't know, talk to the plant, grow the plant. And there's a really powerful connection to taking care of something else. So some of us are parents, so sometimes we're doing that. Maybe in your work, you're taking care of people, caregiving. Maybe like for me, I'm caring for my mom who has Alzheimer's. So there's different ways to be a caregiver. But if you don't have a person to care for, try taking care of a plant. It's amazing. It's amazing how you can connect to the benefits of connecting to nature.
We coming to the end, and I have one question for you. What does self-love mean to you?
Self-love. Yeah, good question. Yeah, there's a lot of answers that I could give you for that. So let me see. I know your topic today is like anxiety, and I'm sharing about the yoga and meditation. So I would say, staying around the theme of anxiety, if you find this anxiety is arising from either feeling like you don't belong, or feeling like you're not worthy, or feeling like you don't deserve to be loved, any of that anxiety can arise around that. If you can take the time to do whatever the work is, whether it's again working with a coach or a therapist or a meditation or yoga teacher or a healer, connect to those areas of your life. It's like, do you feel like you belong? Do you feel safe? Do you feel worthy? All of those things, which is also self-love. It's also self-love. And it's amazing how just those areas of your life, whether it's the thoughts that you tell yourself, some beliefs that you have, if you can break through any of those self-limiting beliefs, that it can be easier to love yourself if you disrupt that negative thinking that tells you I'm not deserving to be loved, that, oh, I don't belong, I don't belong here, or nobody wants me, or, all of those types of feelings or thoughts that can come up. And that can be a very lonely, sad place to exist in your mind. So if you can break through those types of feelings, those types of beliefs, and break through the self-limiting beliefs, because we all deserve self-love. We all deserve, we are all worthy. We are all whole and complete. We all have this prana, this life force, which is already within us. But we forget, though, because over time, maybe we put on the masks, we put up our walls, all of those things. So then we don't allow ourselves to receive that love, to receive the truth the truth of like why you are here. So breaking through all of that and giving yourself the permission to allow yourself to be loved, it's really powerful.
Thank you. And I'm sure people who will be listening to this or watching this, there's a lot of information. And Amelia given us how wisdom to us, and I'm hoping you will use it. If someone wants to reach you, how can they contact you?
Yeah. Yeah. And you'll put this in the episode notes, but my website is spirituallyfityoga.com. So that's a great way. And spiritually fit yoga tends to be the way to reach me. So if you want to find me on Instagram, it's at spiritually fit yoga. If you want to find me on Facebook, it's spiritually fit yoga. You can find me there. I'm also a publisher on Insight Timer. You can follow my tracks. I've got audio tracks and video tracks. We just started adding video tracks. I do live events out there, yoga and meditation on Insight Timer. When you go to my website, if you want, you can also look at the yoga retreats I do. I'm going to Bali actually soon. I'm flying out this weekend for my Bali yoga retreat.
Nice.
Yeah, and but my next one that's available is actually in Costa Rica. So where I think I have 7 spots left for my Costa Rica yoga retreat. So the one in Bali is a women's yoga retreat, and the one in Costa Rica is actually for men and women. So I've got people that are joining by themselves. I've got couples going. I have friends going, and that yoga retreat will talk about like everything that we've talked about, including especially for, well, I will say that this tends to be my target market tends to be people that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, older. And this particular retreat coming up in Costa Rica is really for anybody who might be in a transition or just questioning, like, what is their purpose in life? Or what do I feel passionate about? It's like, why am I here? Because they feel like they want some meaning in their life, or maybe they're an empty nester, like I am right now, or maybe they've had a divorce, or maybe they've had a job change, or maybe they've lost a spouse or broke up with somebody. It could be something like that, and then you're wondering, what do I do now? And recreate your life and bring those 3 elements into your life. So we work on that during the retreat, and then they leave with a roadmap so then that they can continue. They'll actually literally have a workbook that they leave with, that we do a little bit of work on that every single day. And so they get to work on themselves, and they get to do that svadhyaya that we talked about earlier, that self-reflection. And then you get to be in community too. There's something about being in community when we're all working on this together, in a week. And I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. You can take some classes with me in person. And you'll find, if you look at my website, you'll see my schedule, where you can either practice with me in person or online, or and something recorded. Yeah. And my podcast, I have Spiritually Fit Yoga podcast. I'm on Spotify, on Apple. I'm starting to put some of my videos now on YouTube. So that's kind of new, transferring, but I've been doing my podcasts, gosh, for 6 years now. I started it since the pandemic. So yeah, a long time ago. So yeah. So that's it.
Thank you so much. And Len.
Isn't I? Oh, and I do want to mention something, because I think you'll put it in the episode notes. But I do have, for people, if they want to click on, there's a link where you can download my Getting Started with Spiritually Fit Yoga. So it's a PDF file that you can download, and you have the links on you that you can put in there. So it's just a simple self-care guide to nourish your body, mind, and spirit. It's a really simple workbook. And sometimes they have this workbook that's on PDF. And I've actually had even yoga teachers use it before. I had somebody tell me, oh, I used your workbook for my retreat students. It's like, well, that's great. She handed it out so they could fill it out on their own to do their own svadhyaya work, their own self-reflection. So whether you do it at home or if you want to share it with other students, you're welcome to do that. So you'll have the link that you can have in the episode notes. So yeah.
Thank you. Namaste.
Yeah, namaste. Yeah, thank you for having me.